I almost stayed. Just because I told them that I would. Not because it still felt right. Not because it still made sense. But because changing my mind felt harder than staying. And I remember thinking, at what point does staying consistent become staying stuck? Welcome to the Always On Mute podcast, where we know not everyone was born with a mic in their hand or a megaphone in their mouth, but we still have something to say, because quiet is still a voice. Welcome to the Always On Mute podcast. I'm Antonia, and this is where quiet minds speak with intention. Now that question, at what point does staying consistent become staying stuck? That is what we're going to be unpacking today, because a lot of us are not struggling with the decision. We're struggling with what it means to change it. When your mind changes, it doesn't feel small. It feels like something inside you is being challenged, because your beliefs aren't just thoughts. They're tied to your identity, who you are, what you stand for, what people know you for. So when something shifts, it doesn't feel like an update. It feels like instability. And your brain doesn't like that. So what do? We try to stabilize ourselves by explaining, over-explaining, pre-explaining, apologizing before anyone even reacts. Not because we're wrong, but because we feel exposed. Now let's make this real, because for introverts, this hits differently. We don't move quickly when it comes to decisions. We think. We sit with things. We replay conversations, sometimes from 5 years ago at 2 a.m. for no reason. So when we finally decide something, it has been processed deeply. And that means when we change our minds, it doesn't feel light. It feels significant. Like, if I thought this through that much, why am I changing my mind now? And that turns into doubt about your judgment, about your process, about your ability to trust yourself. And if you already think about things and how it will land with people, now you're not just changing your mind. You are managing their reaction before they even have one. And that right there is exhausting. A lot of the time, you're not staying because it still makes sense. You are staying because you already told people that you would. Because now there's an image attached to it, a version of you that people recognize. And changing your mind feels like contradicting that version. But what you're really doing is staying loyal to an image instead of staying honest with yourself. It shows up in small ways too. You ever go to the grocery store, pick up something, put it in your cart, not fully committed to getting it, because you don't even know if you really want it. You think you do. And you tell yourself, I'll decide at the register. What? You don't. You forget. Or you get distracted. And by the time you realize, they've already scanned it. Right? So now you're standing there thinking, it's too late. Even though you could easily say, excuse me, I actually don't need that. Can you void it? They can void it with no problem. But instead, you let it go through. You take it home. And now it is sitting in your cupboard. Yes, cupboard. You might use it. You might return it. You might donate it. Or it just stays there until it expires. That's what we do with decisions also. We carry things home that we already knew at the register we didn't want anymore. Not because we didn't need them, but because stopping the process felt more uncomfortable than continuing it. I've done that so many times. Staying in something too long, not because it felt right, but because explaining the shift felt heavier than just staying. When consistency becomes a costume, you start performing a version of yourself that no longer exists. And the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to leave. Have you ever stayed in something longer than you should have just because you already said yes? If that's you, just say yes, that's me in the comments. Now, let's be honest. It isn't the decision, it's the people. What they will think, what they will say, what they will remember. And for introverts, it's not people in general, it's specific people. The ones whose opinions carry weight. So changing your mind feels like disruption. But here's what I've learned. Sometimes the discomfort people feel when you change has nothing to do with you. Your growth asks a question they're not ready to answer. And not everyone is ready for that. Truth time. When you think about changing your mind, whose opinion are you actually thinking about? Now let's talk about the apology. Not the real kind, the reflex one. I know I said something different before. Or, I'm sorry if this is confusing. Or, I don't want this to come off wrong. Before you even say what changed, you have already softened it, lowered it, diminished it. And every time you do that, you reinforce the idea that your growth needs to be managed. But it doesn't. You can say, I thought this once, I think different now. Period. No paragraph, no disclaimer, no apology tour. That is a complete sentence. Do you catch yourself doing this? Explaining before anyone even asks? Let me know in the. So what does this look like in real life? First, separate the decision from the announcement. You do not have to explain something you haven't fully processed yet. Let it settle first. Second, be honest about what you're actually afraid of. Who are you thinking about? What do you think they'll say? Most of the time, it's not really about them. It's about what you think their reaction means about you. Third, practice saying it simply. I've been thinking about it, and I see it differently now. And let it land. Silence is not your enemy. You already know that. And lastly, redefine consistency. Consistency is not never changing. That's rigidity. Real consistency is being aligned with what's true for you as you grow. Let me answer the question that we started with. At what point does staying consistent become staying stuck? The moment you know something no longer feels true for you and you stay anyway. That's the moment. The version of you who made that original decision made it with what they knew at the time, and you know more now. So why are you holding yourself to a version of you you've already outgrown? Even if it was a couple days ago. Changing your mind is not betrayal. It is awareness. It is growth. And you do not have to apologize for that. You get to own it. Thank you for joining me for today's episode of Always on Mute. Please remember, being quiet doesn't mean that you do not have anything to say. It means that you choose your words with intention. Stay muted, stay mighty, and I will catch you next time.